The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has this to say on the subject of other people. Other people is the name given to the sometimes radical notion that sentient beings, besides oneself, exist elsewhere in the cosmos, or indeed just down the road. The distinguishing features of other people are extremely varied, but among their most commonly complained of tendencies are refusal to lift feet completely when walking, possession of confusing haircuts, and their insistence on having ideas. The pervasiveness of this phenomena is such that in many areas of the galaxy, other people are considered an existential threat to a satisfactorily peaceful afternoon and are actively dissuaded by a number of tactics, ranging from confrontationally worded doormats to biological weaponry. However, once an area has shown signs of other people, then removing them entirely becomes almost impossible without risking the intervention of local law enforcement. Among the most famous examples of other people are the difficulties encountered by a being known as Trellan the Uffish. Having grown weary of the constant attempts made by his neighbors to woo his interest through the discussion of sporting events and noticing the weather, Trellan deliberately marooned himself on the dark world of Carol V. However, after enjoying nearly 2 years of peace from conversational tedium and the casual likening of anything to swings and roundabouts, the unforeseen occurred. It transpired that Carol V experiences an exceptionally slow rotation, and gradually a creeping dawn awoke the numerous and uniquely talkative Corellians. Poor Trellan now found himself stuck on a planet where he was, by a good measure, the most interesting person, and therefore everyone was absolutely dying for a chat. The effect of other people on one's capacity to enjoy life as one sees fit can be seen all across the galaxy. For example, it is the custom of the Haloon community on Frelixia, when celebrating their own birthday, to partake of a particular fruit native to their world. Once ingested, a period of intense psychedelic euphoria is experienced, followed by a loss of nearly all memory of the previous year. The intention behind this bizarre ritual is to enable life to remain fresh and exciting, despite the gradually mounting evidence to the contrary. However, the Haloon are but one culture on the diverse world of Frelixia, and this ritualized forgetfulness is not practiced planet-wide. Therefore, the serenity experienced by cleansing oneself of one's past is frequently compromised by the less conscientious Frelixians and their insistence on bringing up embarrassing things one did at school, often in the company of potential sexual partners. Many solutions have been proposed over the centuries to the problem of other people and their annoying habits. One culture that undertook this project was the Jif Salah Collective. It was decided that the only way they could navigate the growing divisions in their culture was to form a collective entity and then singularly identify as one Gestalt being. Actually deciding how best to do this, however, proved difficult. After arguing and subsequently fighting several wars over how best to all come together in peaceful unison, the diminished and irradiated survivors plugged what remained of their bodies into the network. Together, in their shared body starship, they roamed the cosmos, their planet having been rendered uninhabitable by their aggressive desire to all get along nicely. This plan backfired spectacularly when they were invited to join a council of worlds that had all arrived at roughly the same conclusion. The One Mind of Prill, the Retrellian Consensus, the Omni-William, and countless others demanded that this new hive intelligence take a seat at the table, and the whole dreadful process began anew on a scale that causes all but the most resilient of demographers to go and have a little lie down. Nonetheless, it has been frequently observed by numerous philosophers, writers, artists, and others averse to gainful employment that other people, though often tedious, form part of an ecosystem and are readily missed when gone. The human race of the planet Earth, for example, when faced with the sudden inability to quietly resent each other in extremely close proximity, as they had become accustomed to, then went to extraordinary lengths to ensure that they could continue to resent each other remotely. Bizarrely, and despite the general consensus that, due to a planet-wide quarantine, everyone was bored out of their mind and had nothing of value to report, the desire to aggressively report the nothing that they had done increased exponentially. It was, in many respects, a golden age for the human capacity to be completely trivial. Many theories have been posited for this strange behavior, a popular one being that they had become narcotically dependent on inhaling each other's breath. The dominant theory, though, was that once they were robbed of the opportunity to become annoyed by the comings and goings of their fellow apes, their highly critical tendencies would turn inward, and, before long, it would become horrifyingly apparent to them just how breathtakingly irritating they themselves were. Of the many creation myths that abound in the bubbling soup of the galaxy's many cultures, the most pertinent to the idea of other people can perhaps be this. In the beginning, the Creator was alone. There was no one to talk to, sing to, shout at, or stare at. There was no one to get slightly in the way of, and nobody's time to waste with a story about a dream you had. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, the Creator shattered themselves into a near infinity of separate tiny pieces, and, for a time, the universe was still. Then, one day, one piece turned to another and asked it if it fancied a walk or something. And so the great project of the Creators began, for all the many pieces of themselves to go around bumping into each other, idly wondering what they're going to do for dinner tonight. This is, of course, merely a story, and almost certainly complete nonsense. But it goes some way towards illustrating that, as frustrating and awful as other people historically have been, and will most likely continue to be, the alternative doesn't bear thinking about.